Welcome back, everybody. This module is all about debt reduction. And if you came here first, I just want to make sure that I was serious here for a moment and let you know that I get it, right? Debt reduction can be very stressful. And so we're going to hopefully give you some tools to help you figure out a plan for yourself to eliminate some of that stress. But debt reduction, this module, like all of them, it does have a handout, and this one definitely will be useful, but also you could just use a notebook. So keep that in mind to download the handout or use a notebook. So yeah, let's talk about it, right? Debt reduction. Wouldn't it be great if we could just erase all of our debt? Wouldn't that be awesome? It's like a dream come true, right? It just doesn't work that way, right? And oftentimes, especially here at HomeWise, right, some people have so much monthly debt, right, paying on cars and credit cards and all these bills that they have on their credit report, right, all this monthly debt that they have, that can really impact how much they qualify for in a home. So that's really something that they need to work on. And I've worked with clients in the past where sometimes it was 2 to 3 years, like they really just focused in on that's all that they were doing, right? Slowly building up savings, but really focusing on getting out of that debt, right? And even for you, maybe you already are in your home, but you still have this debt coming up again, right? Maybe it came up again. And now because of all these monthly payments that we're making every month, now I don't have room in my budget, right? I don't have room to save money to put towards a little trip getaway or to put towards even just going out to eat more, than I can. So debt, that monthly debt can really weigh heavy on us. And so I just want to acknowledge that and say, I feel you, right? And so if you are in debt and you have all those credit card debts, one of the things that you really get, right, is a lot of things in the mail telling you how to fix the problem, right? And the tricky thing is there's a high cost to having all those credit cards, right? If you just have 3 credit cards, right, and the average interest rate is 16%, and right now because, maybe you had to use it for emergencies, and another one's where you bought that television where 0 payments for blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff, you put it on this credit card, it's not paid off, it's accumulating interest, you just have credit card debt and it's $7,700, let's just say on these 3 credit cards. Well, what's the gimmick? They're always like, well, just make the minimum monthly payment. Just make the minimum monthly payment. You're going to be fine, right? It's only $30 a month. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that you're paying a lot in interest, right? That's barely covering any principal. That minimum monthly payment's going almost completely towards your interest. So as you can see here, make the minimum monthly payment. It's going to take you 32 years to get out of that credit card debt. 32 years. That's 2 years longer. You would pay off a house in 30 years. 15 if you get a 15-year mortgage. Most of them are 30, but 32 years to pay off 3 silly credit cards. And look at that interest. You spent $14,059 in interest. So those things that you just put on all this credit card because you thought you were getting a good deal, which don't even get me started on that whole thing. I'm sure I'll bring it up at some point, but I hate those. Oh, you just save so much money by putting on a credit card. Now when your interest rate on some credit cards is 24%, 25%. But anyway, in this example, the average is 16%, and you'll have $14,000, $59 in interest, meaning you're spending $21,000, almost $22,000 for those items. That's a lot. And when you look at it like that and you think about it like that, how much I'm paying for that, $22,000 for that stuff, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Hopefully you feel that way. But if you needed it, you need it. Judgment-free zone, I'm just saying. Now, as I mentioned, you get all these offers for credit cards because if you have credit cards and the higher the balances are, boy, the more people want you to get their credit card, right? So be careful of that, and we'll talk about that in credit. But one thing you're going to get as well is debt consolidation or, balance transfers offers on these credit cards. But let's talk about debt consolidation a little bit here, because it's something that comes up when people have conversations like, oh, I could do this debt consolidation loan. And sometimes, yes, sometimes some situations, maybe, credit unions might have a good deal or something like that. But offers you're getting in the mail, you really want to examine, because the biggest thing on any offer you get in the mail is there's big, bold print and little tiny asterisks and then small printing on the back of the page. So you want to be careful. And so if you're thinking about, should I consolidate my bills and, how would this do to get rid of my debt? Here's what we want you to think about. Like, what's the interest rate? You saw the 3 credit cards, right? If the average was 16%, well, what's the interest rate on this debt consolidation loan, right? And is it adjustable? Sure, maybe it's 0% for 12 months, but then after that it jumps to 25. Well, that's more than you're paying now. So what's the term, right? How long is it going to take you to pay it off? Because sometimes a debt consolidation is a loan, so it's an agreed upon term where, oh, now you're going to get this set monthly payment, this interest rate, but you have to pay it off in 5 years. And then is there a prepayment penalty? Because sometimes people work that into certain debt consolidation products where you're not really able to pay it off any sooner because they want the interest and what they're going to get off of you. And then the terms and the cost, the big one is always, it'll be like, hey, it's only $50 or 3% of your loan. Well, I'm terrible at math, but 3% of $7,000, 700, that's not $50, right? It's going to be close to like $300. It's 200 something. Anyway, don't have a calculator. Where's my calculator? Anyway, so what's the cost of it, right? Well, how much is that? Because now you got to add that to your debt. That's more debt you're taking on just to pay off debt. What? And then the big thing too is, does this fix the problem or does it extend the problem? And by that I mean, sometimes that easy fix of just wrapping, and I'm going to lay the cards on the table here, I'll be honest with you. When I was in my 20s, I got a lot of credit cards, and I got a lot of credit card debt, and I had a truck I couldn't afford that got repossessed, and I ended up declaring bankruptcy. I was a mess in my 20s, just a few short years ago. I'm not that old, right? No, but in my 20s, I got in a lot of trouble. And then the problem is because I declared bankruptcy and just wiped it all out, sure, it looked like it fixed the problem, but it didn't fix my behaviors. And I ended up getting into debt again in my 30s. And then it took me a while to really figure out what the heck I was doing wrong. So that's the tricky thing with debt consolidation for HomeWise, from our standpoint, is sometimes typically we feel like, is this really going to fix the problem, which is your habits around how you're treating your credit and things like that. So what I'd like to talk to you about today is something else that's called PowerPay for debt reduction. Now, PowerPay is great because you see at the bottom there, you can go to powerpay.org. There's a website you can use, and it doesn't cost any money. But this method is sometimes referred to as the avalanche method or the snowball method. Essentially what you're doing is you're looking at your debts, right? And you're going to focus on paying off one debt at a time. And you're going to make minimum monthly payments on all your debts, and then really focus in on paying off one at a time. And if you can, you want to free up some extra money in your budget. Let's say you're one of the people here, this was the first video module that you watched, and you're like, I'm in debt and I want to get out of debt. So you need to analyze what works for you. But an example I sometimes say is, perhaps there's a local coffee place that you go to, don't want to mention any names, right? But there's a local coffee place you stop to every day on the way to work. If you were to cut that out and drink the free coffee that's at the office, or make your darn coffee at home, I cut coffee out a long time ago. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But if you were to cut out visiting that little coffee shop every day and spending $3 to $5, right? Maybe you realize, like, okay, maybe I can go once a week, but by not going every day, I could probably free up like $50 that I'm, instead of spending it on coffee, $50 and put it towards paying off my debt. Maybe it's $50 for you, maybe it's $10, maybe you don't have any free money. This method works no matter where you're at, but let's just pretend that you do find some area like eating out at work, eating out for lunch every day, where you could cut back on spending and find $50. So if you can find a little bit of extra money in your budget to put towards PowerPay, that would be great. So then you need to decide, and we're going to do this little exercise here in just a second, where you're going to be like, so what do I want to pay off? Like one of my smaller credit cards, or maybe one of those bills that has a high interest rate. So you decide, this is going to be your plan, right? And then we always like to say here at HomeWise as well, make sure you build in rewards. Treat yourself once you've accomplished paying off a debt, so build in rewards. And remember your goals. So I'm not sure if you've watched our goal video yet, or if you've watched our video about messages about money and values. So, because you want to keep a lot of things in mind as motivation towards why you're focused on debt reduction, right? I'm focused on debt reduction because I don't want all these monthly bills, so I'll have more money for savings for my house, savings for a vacation. I want more money to save up. I'm going to open my own business, whatever it is for you, right? Having all those monthly debts can inhibit what I'm able to do with my money. So I want to really focus in on my goals. That'll help keep me motivated. And then be thoughtful, of course, about adding new debt. So in the handout, right, there is, this one's really colorful that you're seeing here, but in your handout is essentially this little exercise we're doing together. So if you want to fill this out while I'm talking and while this is going on, or just kick back, relax, and watch, you can do that. There is, I'm just going to give you a heads up, there is this blank page that you're going to use after we kind of review how this works, so you can fill this out for yourself. Touch on that in a second too. But let's just say, and for simplicity's sake, so we can get through this quicker, that I'm in a situation where I have 4 debts, right? I have 4 debts. I've got a car loan that's $4,800. I've got a store credit card. I've got another credit card and a bank loan. And as you can see here, right, I'm going to write out in the first column all of my debts. And in the second column, I'm going to write out what's the balance on all of these debts. That's in column 2, right? I'm going to just write out what's my balance on all of these things. And here's a key thing, and boy, it's a wake-up call for a lot of people. So in the third column, you want to put in your interest rate. Now, in the car loan, the bank loan, probably when you sign those up, it's a fixed rate deal, and they're typically smaller, so you can write those in. But on the credit cards, did you know if you go over your limit or if you have a late payment, sometimes they raise your interest rate on you? And that's in the fine print. So you don't even realize unless you go online to see, and you have to explore and find it on the website and be like, wait, what's my interest rate? Find out what your interest rate is on all those credit cards that you have, because that could be a factor in which ones you want to pay off first. So that's where you're going to write in all of our interest rates. And then in the fourth column there, I'm going to write in, what are my minimum monthly payments, right? What are my minimum monthly payments? So that's where you're going to start off in that graph here with all of yours. Then what you want to do for each of these is figure out, well, how long is this going to take me to pay these items off if I continue just making those minimum monthly payments? Just spoke about the 3 credit cards making minimum monthly payments. It's going to take 32 years, right? So in this case, right, well, I'll be able to pay off this car loan in 2 years, right? 24 months, because that's the total balance of $4,800 divided by 200 is 24. See how we got that? If not, some people get this tricky. Some people are not math people. I'm not really a math person, unless I have my calculator handy. So if this is like, you're like, wait, what? Give us a call. Give us a call. We'll go over it with you, right? Just in case. I want to let you know you're not alone. Sometimes people are like, wait, how'd you get that? So there we have the store credit card. Now, of course, we're cheating a little bit here because with credit cards, those are constantly accumulating interest. So, but in general, right? In general here, if my balance is $240 and my minimum is $30 a month, it would be about 8 months and it would get paid off because 240 divided by 30 is 8, right? Or do it the other way. 8 times 30 is 240. Do you see that way? Maybe that. Sometimes people are like, oh, I see now. Division, no. Multiplication, yes. All right. The other credit card is $540, making that minimum $45 a month payment be about a year. And then I'm good at math when it's big numbers like this, but 1,000 divided by 100, that's 10. I'm good. Boy, if it's round numbers like that, I'm really good at the math. So that bank loan's about 10 months. So now you want to, once you've listed all of yours out, you have the balances, you have interest rates, right? And you know how long it would take you to pay that off if you just made minimum monthly payments. These numbers kind of give you a factor into, do I want to pay off a short-term, small balance, high interest rate? What do I want to pay off first? And so then you're going to decide on, and I'm going to reference it again, your list, you're going to decide what it is you want to pay off. But in this example, I'm pretending this is me and this is mine, right? And so I'm going to say, well, the first thing I'm going to pay off is that little dinky credit card, right? It's a store credit card that I don't really use that much anyway because of that 24% interest rate. So I'm going to make sure I lock that away at my bank in my safe deposit box, so I'm not tempted to use it anymore. But it's a small balance and it's a high interest rate. So that's what I'm going to do first. And then the next one is, of course, because that other credit card is accumulating interest at a high, almost 20% there, 18.9, 19%, I think I'm going to do that one second. And then to finish it up, I'll do the bank loan. And then lastly, for me, number 4 would be the car loan. So you do you, figure out your order, right? So remember, just a moment ago, I mentioned I want to find some extra money that I can put towards my debt, right? How much can I come up with? And hopefully you're in a position where you realize like, well, if I just bring my lunch or stop going and stopping by that little coffee joint on the way, I can find $50 that I'm going to dedicate towards putting towards my debt. Hopefully you can do that. If not, it's okay. It works either way. And we'll talk about that after we've paid off a debt. So, but if I do have $50, I'm going to focus it on that first debt, and I'm going to add the minimum monthly payment of $30. So I'm going to be paying $50 plus $30. So I'm going to be making $80 monthly payments on this credit card. So now if I'm making $80 payments, it's only going to take me 3 months to pay off this card. See what we did there? If it's $240 is the balance and I can put $80 towards this card, I'm going to pay it off in 3 months as opposed to 8. Much quicker, and get rid of that interest credit card, right? So that's the way the PowerPay method works, right? I'm finding a free amount, making my minimum monthly payments on all my accounts, but just focusing on one at a time, right? Because sometimes if we do because sometimes people say, oh, I do 5 extra here, 5 extra there. It's little. Well, if I were to take all those little extra 5, 10, 15 that I'm putting towards all these things and just focus on one, I could pay one off. So that's the goal of this program. Now, if you're in a position where you don't have any extra, you're just going to focus in on paying off that store credit card. And then once that store credit card would be paid off, then you'd have that $30 monthly payment that would be your initial PowerPay amount that you're adding to the next bill. Okay, I hope that makes sense. That if you don't have any free, paying off that first one, that minimum monthly payment of $30 would go towards your next debt. But in this case, I stopped going to the coffee joint and I had $50. So I was paying $50 plus $30, $80 a month. Paid off a credit card. Now what's the next thing I'm going to do? Nope, not pay off that credit card. Remember I talked about rewarding yourself? So now it's going to be like, okay, so I've paid off this debt. I'm very proud of myself. So every day this week, I'm going to go ahead and treat myself to going and getting that mocha latte, chino, caramel. I don't get those. I'm a venti Americano. But maybe you're going to treat yourself to a fancy coffee every day that week because you paid off a debt. Great. If that's what you want to do, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But ideally, what we're doing here is creating new habits. And one of them is rewarding yourself by paying off a debt makes you realize I worked hard to do that. I'm not going to do that again on that credit card. And this is my reward. So that's why we say work in that reward. So once I've done that, now I'm focused on moving forward. So now I've got $80 that I'm going to be putting towards my next debt, right? Because that was the one I decided I was going to pay off. And that $80 plus the minimum of $45 that I've already been paying, right? I've been paying that along the way, right? The minimum monthly payment. Well, now I'm making $125 payments towards this credit card rather than just the $45. I'm making $125 towards this card. And maybe, with interest going up and maybe I had to use it for something, because I've been budgeting to save all my money to focus on debt reduction. If the balance was $540, with $125, I'd pay that off in 5 months. That's right. I'd pay it off in 5 months. So essentially at this point, 8 months have gone by, 3 months to pay off the first, 5 months to pay off this one. But I've paid off 2 debts in 8 months. And it was going to take me a year, the time frame with these 2 cards before, right? So we're doing pretty good. So hopefully you get where we're at, right? 2 cards paid off, another reward. This time, I'm calling up a friend of mine and I'm saying, look, I would like to treat you. Let's go to the movies. It's been forever. Let's go to the movies. I'm going to treat you to the movies and I'm buying the popcorn too, right? So maybe it's you go to the movies to treat yourself, or maybe it's miniature golf, right? Maybe it's whatever. Go bowling. Do something fun. Reward yourself. And make sure you tell people, I'm celebrating. I've paid off 2 of my credit cards. And people are going to be like, how'd you do that? You can be like, I watched a video. And then give them a link to watch this. But anyway, so here we are. We paid off 2 credit cards. We just enjoyed a fun night out bowling. I enjoy bowling. I'm good for the first 5, 6 balls. And then all of a sudden my arm gets sore. Then it's just like gutter ball, gutter ball, gutter ball. But in the first, it's just like strike, strike, strike. It feels so good. So now we're on to the bank loan. Now what's happened here? Let's review. So 8 months have gone by, right? The 3 months to pay off the first, 5 months. So 8 months have gone by that I've been making that minimum $100 payment on my bank loan here. So the balance isn't $1,000, right? This is now $200, right? The balance is now $200 on this. So when I move that PowerPay amount from the just previously paid off credit card of $125, and I add that to the minimum payment of $100, right? Come on. Then I get to, I'm making a $225 payment towards this loan. So essentially that's done in a month, right? Now, because I have that extra, I put it towards there. I don't have 2 months, 1 month, and it's done. So look at that. I've paid off 3 of these debts. Now, yours might take a little bit longer, but it'll still feel just as good and look just as awesome on your spreadsheet, right? So I have paid off 3 debts at this point, and that's pretty incredible. Now, if we were to follow this through with the auto loan, I'm going to go pay that off, right? No, I'm not. I'm going to treat myself again. Don't forget to build in that reward. So not only am I going to go every day to my favorite little coffee place and get a fancy coffee, I'm also going to go out to lunch on Friday, treat one of my coworkers to go out to lunch, and we're going to get cocktails because it's Friday. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun. Not that I'm condoning drinking during the working day. Oh boy, now I'm gonna get calls and letters. You're gonna take someone to lunch and you're gonna take them out afterwards for cocktails. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, let's follow this through, and then I'm gonna review another scenario. But if I'm gonna focus next on my car loan, 3 months, 5 months, and 1. That's 9 months have gone by that I've maybe 9 months have gone by that I've been making $200 payments on my car loan. So 2 times 9, 18. So adding the power pay of $225 to the minimum monthly payment of $200 would be $425 now that I can put towards this car loan, which the balance now is, right, if we subtract that $1,800 is $3,000, right? Because for the past 9 months, making those $200 payments, now the balance is only $3,000. When I've added that power pay amount to the minimum on the car loan, I'm going to be making $425 payments on this car loan now. $425 towards paying off that car loan. So $3,000 divided by $425 is 7. So I'll have that paid off in 7 months. Now, this is great. I'm debt free. I've paid off all my stuff. I'm rewarding myself with something fancy, night out on the town. I don't know what I'm doing, But whatever you want to do, this is a huge celebration. This is a huge accomplishment. And it took time, much faster than if I just paid the minimum. Definitely saving money on interest by paying off those credit cards in a more timely manner, saving money on the interest that didn't go out of my pocket to pay, just letting them sit there at minimums. So focusing in on this is a huge accomplishment. And by rewarding myself and taking the time to do it, right? Debt consolidation is nice, but just like, wrap it up in a pretty bow and then it's just learn anything. People tend to just, the credit cards just go back up again, right? This you have to work for and make a plan for. And so therefore, we find a higher level of success for people's not only getting rid of debt, but staying out of debt. Let's talk about another scenario here. And that is that instead of just putting all $425 towards the car, right? Let's say I want to build savings, right? I want to build savings. So after I paid off that bank loan, I had $225, right? So what if I were to put $125 towards savings each month and only $100 of this going towards the car loan? Well, I'm still got $100 plus the $200 minimum that I've been making. So I'm going to make $300 payments towards the car. And then if the balance is $3,000 and I'm making $300 payments, that of course, I love those big numbers. That would mean I'll pay off the car in 10 months. So that's fine. But guess what? If I dedicate that $125 towards savings over those same 10 months, that means by the time I've paid off my car loan in those 10 months, I will have saved $1,250 as well. So that's where once you get down to the nitty gritty and you're looking at this method, and that's where you can give us a call and talk it through. So you definitely want to focus in on the credit cards as much as you can and getting those down. But at some point you might want to say to yourself, well, I also kind of want to start building up some savings. So if I've got a big lump from paying off a bunch of debts, right? And it could even be bigger than that $225, right? It'll be that $300 that was towards the car, right? Or the $425 towards the car, right? If you have a large amount of money, rather than putting it towards the next debt, you could decide, do I want to start to put things towards savings? Woo! I tell you, that's always a rough one. We did it. So the power pay debt reduction method is great. But again, Just focus on one at a time, try to free up some money, and then also you want to make sure you're making your minimum monthly payments, avoiding using those credit cards whenever possible, right? Don't accumulate more debt. And the nice thing is, if you want to pause the video here or stop the video here right now, just go to powerpay.org. I encourage you to go to the website after you have gotten your list of all of your debts that you're trying to pay off, right? When you go to powerpay.org, what you can do is, and you make up a name, right? You can tell them your name is Mickey Mouse and your password is, Z4567, just make up a sign in, login. And when you go to the PowerPay website, the nice thing is I'm going to have these here for me, but in the website, I'm not entering in any personal information. You're not giving them your account number. You're not giving them anything. You could just say card 1, card 2, card 3, card 4, right? You enter in the balance, you're entering in your interest rate, your minimum monthly payments, right? And it's like a glorified computer. You don't have to do all that work we just did mathematically. If you're a little math challenged like I am, the PowerPay website will do it all for you. And it actually will create Excel spreadsheets and show you exactly how much to pay towards each of these debts each month. It's really, really cool. That's why I say check it out. So that's the PowerPay method, and that's the handout where it comes in so handy. But why is debt so important? Let's touch on something. So, because it's HomeWise, a lot of the videos will have a little home ownership plug, right? And many of you are working towards home ownership. Let's just touch on briefly mortgage qualification. And that is, if you are interested, once you finish this course, we have a great online course. It's called Home Buyer Education. And it's a great series, but that was really more like college, man. I'm telling you, that's like really serious. Rachel, who's head trainer, does that one, Sandy in Spanish. And they're intense, man. That's a lot. I lose my voice whenever I teach that class. It is so much talking. But I think financial fitness is more fun. I feel like this is more summer camp. But anyway, if you want to learn more about mortgage qualification, take that class, right? Just go to the website, sign up for that class. But let's just touch on, because debt does impact that, I just want to explain how. So 3 things mortgage lenders are looking at when they're trying to get us approved for a loan and figure out how much we qualify for. They're looking at our capacity, right? And our capacity is our income compared to our debt. And then they're looking at our cash, so that's why you want to build up savings, and our credit history, which is why you want to watch the Understanding Credit video. But for mortgage qualification, right, and it's in your handout, if we can pay down debt, right? In this scenario here, there's a family in their gross, and yes, numbers might be off, dated to you. You might be thinking, what? That doesn't seem, anyway. Just trust me, this is just basic numbers. If a family's gross monthly income right now, gross monthly income is $3,200, they're gross, right? And their monthly debts are a car loan of $300, and they've got these 2 credit cards that got pretty big balances, $50 each a month, minimum monthly payments. Their monthly debt that a lender is going to look at are those minimum monthly payments on your credit report. So that $300 car loan and the minimum on your credit cards. So that's a total of $400. So in this scenario, with $3,200 in gross income and $400 monthly debt, that's part of the debt ratio that you can learn about more where? That's right, Home Buyer Ed. But in this scenario, you can see if I'm getting a 5.5% interest rate loan, the most I'm going to qualify for in a mortgage is around $154,000, right? Based upon my income and my debt. So oftentimes when you're working with us in home purchase advisors, say maybe one of the first things you want to do is just take some time, right? Take some time and focus on paying off some debt. Now, that $300 a month car loan is a huge amount of money to be going out, right? So maybe your focus is really, in this scenario, that I just want to get rid of that large payment, right? Again, you do you. So if I'm really going to focus on that car loan, right? Pick up a second job, whatever I'm going to do is like, I really just want to get rid of that $300 a month payment because I can get rid of that and start building savings. Plus, by paying off that $300 a month car loan, if I just have $100 in monthly debt, so just a couple little, credit card payments that I'm making, now I qualify for $197,000 in a mortgage. That's huge. That's a huge difference. That's almost $200,000. So that's why we bring up debt reduction, and hopefully encourage you, if you're looking towards home purchase, why it is so important to focus in on that debt reduction, right? And why, in this case, debt consolidation doesn't necessarily work, because if I'm just paying off all these credit cards and then getting a debt consolidation loan, well, the amount of that loan now is my debt. So I haven't done anything to reduce my debt. I still have that monthly payment. And then if I don't work it out to where I stop using the credit card, now I have that one and now these again. So that's where we feel like take the time, do the work with the power pay method. So just close up the mortgage qualification. So that is because of capacity, right? And then through this, if you can work on building up your cash and your savings and your credit. And that's one of the things we work with you towards if you want to work towards that, towards home purchase. But debt reduction. Who knew it could be kind of fun? Hope it was a little fun. I know it's a little intimidating and it can be stressful, but hopefully now you feel empowered that like, oh, there's a tool to help do that. I can focus in on that. And you can do what? You can create a plan. You can create your plan of how you want to get out of debt. So thanks so much for joining me for this video. And I really look forward to hearing some success stories. And also like email trainers and say how you rewarded yourself when you paid off your credit cards. I'd love to hear it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.